What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota, and today I'm going to be reviewing our largest full-size SUV, which is a 2025 Sequoia. Now, this being a platinum model, it's pretty high up on the trim level. We're going to take a closer peek to see what this vehicle offers you inside and out. So stay tuned and let's check it out. Let's talk powertrain on the 2025 Sequoia. So this is powered by a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6. It's going to be pushing out 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque through a 10-speed automatic gearbox. Now, this is going to be our most powerful powertrain that we currently offer in our lineup. And for a vehicle at this size, it definitely gives you a lot of capabilities on the towing side, on the power side, and just getting up to speed, which is pretty cool to be having from a manufacturer like Toyota. Now let's talk about the front end to start. This is gonna be featured in Supersonic Red, which to be honest is not gonna be my #1 choice in color. However, I do think this color actually looks pretty good on this vehicle with all of the dark accents, which we'll be going over throughout the video. Now, looking at the front end design, your headlights to start with, that is a triple beam LED with sequential turn signals, which in my opinion is going to be the nicest style and the best visibility you'll be getting off of any of our headlights that are offered throughout our lineup. A couple things on the vehicle that I'm going to point out that I'm maybe not going to be the biggest fan of, but they are going to be coming standard on this package. Now, looking down below, you're going to have this big plastic piece. And if you see my previous videos, you know I'm not a huge fan of plastic. Now, this is what they call an active front spoiler. You can remove these. There's a couple different clips on the bottom half of this, and this is offered on a Tacoma as well. Now, they say it's supposed to be increasing your fuel efficiency. However, I think I'd be taking it off to actually challenge to see what you would average between, having this active front spoiler on or off the vehicle, because for me, it's kind of an eyesore on the front end. And for me, if you're getting up to any close, tight parking spots, because this vehicle is coming in as probably our largest SUV, it's gonna be close to the 4Runner size when the new 2025s actually arrive here. However, this is going to be something that you don't have much ground clearance off of. So I think that if you're pulling into a smaller spot, maybe that could give you maybe a few different issues when you are parking this vehicle, and something that obviously you wouldn't want to be breaking on a vehicle coming in at this price point. Now, the one thing I will be saying that I do like is going to this massive front grille. Now, I know it does have a little bit of chrome on this vehicle throughout, and I know as a platinum grade, the platinum badging is going to have a little bit of extra chrome. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it. I wish it was all black like they offer on a nightshade version of this vehicle, but for me, it's not the end of the world because they've kind of kept it more minimal than obviously some other vehicles that we have in our lineup. Now, this being our biggest SUV, yeah, you can see that from the front end, this is huge. It's the one vehicle that I'm next to, just like a Tundra, that actually makes me feel a little bit smaller when I am next to it. And definitely on the inside, if you're a bigger family or you just want a lot of space, this could definitely be a vehicle for you. Now, interesting enough, on this vehicle, they're offering now a Sequoia, which will come optional with power retractable tow mirrors. Now, these will push all the way out just in case you are towing anything, because a Sequoia here in Canada does come tow ready. You take off a back clip on your rear bumper. With these tow mirrors, you can push them out and you're clear to tow up to about 9,100 pounds, which is pretty good. So if you got, a larger boat, you're hauling a trailer, anything like that, this could be a very well-equipped vehicle for you. Now, on the sides, my favorite feature of this vehicle, there's going to be actually two of them. #1 is going to these 20-inch dark gray, or yeah, I guess I'd call it a gray alloy wheel. Now, this looks really good on this vehicle, and I think that obviously having a larger rim on a vehicle at this size is something that I would be opting in for. You could be upgrading to even 21-inch on a capstone model. Those rims would probably be my favorite out of any Sequoia rims that you can get from the factory, but I would be more than happy with these ones here. Now, the other feature I'm a huge fan of is going to be once you're on the side of this vehicle. You can obviously, it says platinum badging on the side, and it kind of has some of that dark chrome, but it's not the actual, bright chrome like you see on the front grille. But when you actually get over to the side of the vehicle, you open the door, and your power folding retractable running boards will come out for you. And then as you close the door, they will obviously then retract back up to the side of the vehicle. You can turn that feature on and off just in case, you know, you're next to a curb, something like that, or say it's super, super icy, you didn't want to damage anything, you can turn that off. But I think having a vehicle already coming equipped with that gives you a lot of value for money in the price point that a new Sequoia will run you. Okay, now taking a closer look onto the rear end of the Sequoia, you know you're in this vehicle because Toyota has opted in to give you some very large badging on the rear end of this vehicle. And as you can see, Sequoia written all the way on the bottom of your trunk. And I'm happy Toyota has done that because typically they opt in to put something smaller as your, you know, vehicle logo, I guess, on the rear end of your car. So typically it would say, you know, RAV4 there, but in this case, I'm happy it's written in large that says Sequoia on the back. The only small decal they've added on the rear end of this vehicle is going to be in the bottom right corner, which will say iForce Max, because the new Sequoias are only offered with this powertrain, which is a hybrid, which is nice because a vehicle this size, obviously you'd want to be saving some gas versus some competitors on the market. Now, couple cool things that you do get on this vehicle straight from the factory in Canada. Number one is going to be this cover down here, which is going to be for your tow hitch. So all you have to do is throw a ball mount on it with a ball, and then you can tow up to about 9,100 pounds. So anything larger, a smaller utility trailer, a boat, even like a small little, you know, pop-up camper, you'd be more than happy with this vehicle to actually tow that for you and your family with all the space that this vehicle offers. With another really good convenience feature, you can actually open up this rear glass by simply hitting this little black button here. You pop it open and you can load anything in. So if your car was packed all the way full, you could at least throw stuff in to make it more accessible for you and your family, throwing, you know, any last minute things up to the cottage into the rear trunk of this vehicle. Now it also opts in with your kick sensor, so you can put your foot underneath the rear bumper and that will open up the trunk for you, which I think is obviously a very convenient feature. Now, if you guys saw that on camera, because sometimes it's a little bit harder to actually see, your rear turn signals and lights back here are going to be sequential and LED. So it just gives the vehicle that much more of that premium look. And I think Toyota has done a pretty good job in styling this, you know, huge SUV that we offer. Now, with the rear seats currently up, you actually still have quite a bit of usable storage space. So these are the mats you get with the vehicle. The summer mats are here, the winters are inside, and obviously this is still going to be giving you quite a bit of space on the rear trunk space for this vehicle. Another cool thing that they do offer is that you can actually move around this loading height, and you can actually put these shelves in on each side of the vehicle. So in case you had, you know, a stack of, you know, different groceries or, you know, a couple gift sets or some small things you didn't want to be like, you know, slamming around in the back, and you want to actually kind of, you know, separate them in the rear, you can do that with this vehicle, which I think is a pretty cool, you know, option to at least have just in case you and your family had stuff to throw into this vehicle. Now, this is going to be one way you can configure a Sequoia. You can also configure it as an 8-passenger. This is going to be a 7, so it's going to have a bench seat in the second row. We're going to take a closer peek to look on the inside of this to see what this vehicle offers, because there's quite a lot on it. So let's go in and check it out. All right, guys, let's take a closer peek onto the inside of the Sequoia. Now, this vehicle is going to be our largest SUV that we currently offer, and you definitely feel that being on the inside of this vehicle. Now, a lot of things are laid out here and it's very accessible for users. And that's something that I noticed when this vehicle was, you know, refreshed. They did a very good job to make the layout newer, but also keeping it very, you know, user-friendly in case you were one of those people that had the old generation Sequoia or were just looking to getting into a newer SUV, that you don't feel overwhelmed on the inside, you know, with all the capabilities this vehicle does offer onto the interior. Now, a couple things that I will be saying on this specific trim level that I'm a huge fan of. Number one, you get power passenger and driver seats with genuine leather, which are heated and cooled just like your second row as well. Both people in the second row, there's no bench, just the captain seats. Those ones will be heated and cooled, which is obviously just giving more, you know, features, I guess, for anyone else you'll be having inside of this vehicle. A few other things that I also love on this vehicle, which if you see my previous videos, you know I'm a huge fan of a moonroof. So having this open definitely makes this vehicle feel even bigger than it is. And it actually feels very large when you're driving it. Typically on a vehicle, I've never really said in any of our lineups so far that I feel too big on the road. You definitely feel, you know, in charge, I guess I could say. So you definitely feel a bit higher up and a bit more in power, especially with everything this vehicle does have to offer. A couple things though I will be saying that I love. If you go onto your infotainment system in this vehicle on this platinum grade, this is going to be a 14-inch touch display with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Sirius XM, all the good stuff. You go down here to this little vehicle logo, I guess, and then hit seat controls. From there, you click the only option, which is massage, and you either then pick your driver or passenger. So I'll pick driver in this sense. I will go to say upper body, turn the power is going to come on, and your intensity. You've got 5 different levels. And now the rear of my seat is actually kind of pushing out on my back, which is really nice. I think that it is a new feature that we've added onto some of our 2025s. And I think that it's one of those things that kind of, you know, make a trim level like this feel a little bit more premium, because if you're taking this on a long road trip, just having your back kind of moving in a different way definitely would make you feel, I guess, a little bit more, you know, at ease while you're driving, say for 5, 6, 7 hours, or doing, you know, some kind of long road trip over, you know, a course of a few days. Now that's standard on this vehicle. And I think that that mixed with say your JBL sound system, your digital rear view display mirror up here, your largest screens, your full digital tachometer in front of you, it does offer a lot of great capabilities onto the inside, and you don't have to do, you know, a whole lot. Like, it's very simple to simply, you know, navigate through this screen or navigate through all of my controls down by my left knee down here. So for example, if I was towing something and I wanted to pop out my mirrors, I simply push out this button that pushes out my mirrors, and then very simply my mirrors would then push out, so that if I'm towing something, I can see way more of actually what is behind me. Now, with a vehicle being this size, I'm just gonna move the key up here next to the wireless charger. You can obviously have a lot of spots and different space, I guess, in this vehicle to throw stuff in. So if you pop open in the middle here, you've got 2 cup holders here. You actually theoretically have 2 as well in both of your doors. So you're gonna have theoretically 6 up front with another 2 right here. Now, these are gonna be built, I guess, maybe for the passengers in the back, but they also have cup holders in the, you know, in between their center console there. So you do have a lot of usable space. You definitely look into the middle of your storage down here as well. You have quite more spots to put, you know, whether that's a laptop, an iPad, charging cables, anything like that. So I think they have done a really good job to kind of give you that larger feel on the inside of this vehicle, but also still giving you a lot of practical space. And I think that some manufacturers on the market and other vehicles in the market these days, you get a vehicle that's massive like this, but on the inside it feels a little bit more cramped, or there's maybe not enough storage space for, you know, an everyday user. So I think Toyota has done a very good job to add that in. Now, the last thing I will be saying on this vehicle, which is going to be more catered for someone if you're going to say off-road this vehicle, or if you're towing something and you want to change around what the vehicle is actually doing. You have all of your different drive modes down here, your tow and haul, which you have 5 drive modes, and you can obviously then shuffle between your 2 high, 4 high, and your 4 low. The really cool thing that I think that, you know, people would pay for on this vehicle, which I don't really think is really standard on a whole lot of our vehicles, but it makes sense coming in at this price point, and obviously with the tow capabilities that this vehicle does have, is that this different settings down here, you've got 2 different modes with either manual or this one that kind of shows the SEQUOIA with 2 arrows. You can actually push this down and the vehicle has adaptive air suspension in the rear. So if you're, say, towing something that you need a little bit lower of the ball to actually drop down to, say, match up with the trailer, or you kind of want to offset that weight to make it easier to drive, you can do that. And I think that's a really cool feature that they can throw into the vehicle to either, say, get you unstuck in a situation or to tow something. They have done a pretty good job, you know, well equipping a vehicle at this price point, and as they should. You should be buying a vehicle that has a lot of features. Whether you use it or not, it's just great to obviously have it. The only one thing I'm going to be saying on this vehicle that I'm not a huge fan of on this grade specifically, maybe if the outside was a different color, I would be more in favor of this, but I'm not a huge fan of all of this blue stitching on the inside. I think that having that blue, it's cool, it's unique. You typically don't see a whole lot of that on the market, or say in a manufacturer like Toyota, but I think that I would much rather that be either white or just black, or maybe, you know, a cool mix could just be color matching the actual outside color, which would kind of give you more of what, you know, what the outside's doing versus the inside of the vehicle. That's just the only thing I think I would be, say, adjusting on this vehicle. But other than that, I think that on the inside and outside, they have done a pretty good job to well equip it. Now, I'm gonna jump into the rear just to see what the space is like onto the second and third row. So let's go on and check it out. Alrighty, now jumping into the rear seats of the Sequoia. Now, I'm more than comfortable back here. I think that this being our largest SUV, I should be feeling comfortable. If you're having people that say are a bit taller like myself, I want to feel very comfortable in the rear seats. Now, in the third row, maybe not so much, and that's okay. I'm happy at least they have usable space, whether, you know, this is a 5-passenger in the second half of this vehicle, so a bench and a bench, or like this one, captain seats with the bench in the rear. I still think that is, you know, giving more families and more customers that accessibility getting into the third row. And I think I would configure mine this way. I think not having the bench, if I didn't need the 8 passengers, just simply getting in and out, this makes it so much easier. Rather than dropping the bench and moving the seats forward, you could actually walk all the way back and then obviously scoot yourself back into the third row there. Now, sitting back here, a couple things that I will be noting that, like I mentioned in the front, cup holders there's a lot in this car, and they've kind of overkilled the cup holders, but that's okay. It's better to have too much than too little, I think. So you've got 2 in the middle here, 2 in the middle up here, and then in your door, you theoretically could put another 1 or even 2 if you drop the water bottle and laid it flat. So again, storage space is huge on a vehicle like this, and they have delivered in a very big way from Toyota's side. If you're ever in the back of one of these and say the sun's coming in, I like how the fact that this has built-in sun shaders. So you simply pull this up. It's really easy to do so. There's a clip here and a clip on the back, which just makes it very accessible for anyone in the rear, just in case it was a bit, you know, sunny outside and you didn't want to close the moonroof all the way. This is a pretty good option that obviously comes standard from Toyota. Now, the only thing getting into the rear of this vehicle, there are a couple things that they have added, which I think, I mean, at this price point, I would assume, but it's nice because into the third row behind this seat, it's kind of awkward to reach back there right now, but you can actually retract the third row with a simple push of a button. You push a button, hold it down, and the seats will actually retract for you. So again, it's way more accessible, but then again, I also do like the feature of just pulling a tab and the full thing comes down all in one. So if you had, you know, groceries and your hands were full, that's definitely making it a bit more accessible for anyone into the third row. However, talking about the third row, I'm gonna jump back there. It's probably not gonna be the most comfy for someone at my size, but I'll at least take a seat. I've actually never sat in the third row of a Sequoia before, so I'm kind of interested to see what this does versus, say, a Grand Highlander, because that's probably the closest thing size-wise that you'll be getting with, you know, usable space. So let me climb back there, and I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, now we're in the third row of the Sequoia, and probably by the way you're looking at me right now, I'm not sitting the most comfortable. Now, I do have the option, and I guess all 3 passengers in the back do have that option to actually recline this even further. So I have a button on my side, I simply push it and I'm kind of like lounging now. So that actually made it way more comfortable for me. I don't think I would be complaining, maybe if I was a little bit claustrophobic, which I actually am. So maybe eventually if this was all the way packed and I had all my buddies sitting next to me, maybe it wouldn't be the most, you know, I would say comfortable ride that sense in actual space back here. But you know, if you're talking about if I fit, I do fit. So that is pretty crazy that I could be fitting into the third row of one of our SUVs. Now, if you want to just simply retract this, I'm going to ask for Alex's help, and he's simply going to hold a button. This will fully fold flat for me, which is actually pretty nice. And with that down, that actually gave me way more space. So I'm more than happy here now. If I had all 3 of these seats taken up, it might be a little bit more different. But I think that with this being said, I'm actually pretty happy here. And you do have that option into the trunk. You do have buttons in the rear of this trunk to actually fold these seats down and your actual middle row too. So I think that, you know, accessibility wise, they have done a pretty good job. Now, talking cup holder theme, which I mentioned there's a lot of in this vehicle, you still get a lot into the rear. So I've got 2 on my side, there's 2 on this side. There's a small little cubby down here, which you can't see, but there's not a whole lot you could put into it. I would say maybe the size of a phone, but it does have a USB charging port on top of that. So it's at least nice giving some, charge to, your third row passengers. You don't have to be in the second or in the first row. You can definitely get a charge anywhere that you're sitting on the inside of this vehicle. And now, similar to the middle row, like I was mentioning, you actually get built-in sun shaders on the rear of this vehicle too. So in case you're in like a sunny spot, or you just wanted that closed up, you actually do get a little bit of privacy if you ever needed that into the third row. But all in all, I actually think they've done a pretty good job. And this versus, say, a Grand Highlander, I know they come in at different price points. There's different engines, there's different powertrains, a lot different power, different capabilities of this vehicle. But I know that if you're, say, upgrading from a Highlander, say a Grand Highlander Hybrid Max, to an entry-level Sequoia, yes, you are moving up quite a bit on the dollar side of things, but I'm interested to see what you guys would think of if you say, this was in your budget as well, but obviously if this was in your budget, the Grand Highlander Hybrid also would be. Which one would you rather go for? Do you think you're getting more value for money on a Sequoia side, or is it a Grand Highlander side? Because these vehicles are pretty similar in the sense of how many people they can carry, different features on the inside. It's mainly just space is a little bit bigger on this. It's more of that boxy feel, even from the outside, but it's more true on the inside. You definitely feel like this is just as wide as the back than it is in the front. So I think Toyota's done a pretty good job, but I'm interested to see what you guys say down below. All right, guys, there you have it. The 2025 Platinum Sequoia with tow mirrors. Now, this vehicle coming in for the 2025 model year, MSRP $97,625 plus this paint. This paint, Supersonic Red, is an extra $255 from Toyota. But genuinely, from the price point of this vehicle, with all the features that are offered and stuff that you wouldn't have to worry about, like running boards, like obviously your powered seats in the third row and in the second row, tow hitch capabilities right from the factory, this does give you quite a bit of options for the dollar figure you're spending. So I'm interested to see what you guys think. Is this something that you would be opting in for or considering for your next, full size 7 or 8 passenger vehicle? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Again, my name is Aiden with Upper James Toyota. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our future Toyota related content, and we'll check you guys out in the next video.